I thought we'd take a look at PMQs from Wednesday. We've taken a look at a few PMQs, but this one seems to have caused a little bit of controversy, mainly in the manner that Kemi Badenoch addressed the Prime Minister and referred to several members of the cabinet. The Speaker issued a sort of a rebuke about decorum and standard of language. And, other people have picked it up and are commenting on it. So on the one hand, you've got the Leader of the Opposition whose job it is in our system to sort of lay into the Prime Minister and obviously senior cabinet members and their policies. And on the other hand, you've got a debate that says, well, the behaviour of politicians is noted and language is noted and could be replicated in society. And at its worst, you've had, 2 MPs in recent memory who've been murdered by their constituents. And whilst
David
you can't...
Amis and
Cox.
Joe Cox, yeah.
You can't link the two, but I think they did come to some sort of agreement and acknowledgement that there may be some element, even small, of cause and effect. Anyway, so I'm gonna say that there were a couple of things said that I don't think should have been said, but I think it was a strong performance from Mrs. Badenoch, who's got better and better as her, is it 2 years now, have progressed. She was pilloried quite a lot in her early weeks when she wasn't at it. But then you'd expect that, wouldn't you, when you're inexperienced? And it must be terrifying, frankly, leaning on that dispatch box or across it. Did you know they're a sword length apart? Did you know that?
Yes, I did from the past, because of something to do with the Civil War, wasn't it, if I remember rightly?
And Churchill, when we got bombed in the Second World War, Churchill didn't agree to the chamber being redesigned because he thought they should keep it a sword length apart. Quite like that. It goes with, that's so British, and we could have a pod on that. In fact, you have done a pod on traditions a few years ago. But anyway, back to the point. So she basically, my favourite line was when the Prime Minister, obviously given the timing, was listing his various achievements. She basically said, well, if it's so good, why have you resigned? That was good. I thought that was quite funny. And then she basically referred to him standing there talking with 400 knives in his back and the disloyalty of key people like Mrs. Reeves. And, as a tangential issue here, you had that resignation speech where if it were me, decency would say, if I was the number 2, which obviously the Chancellor is, and my PM was making a resignation speech, I would have been there. That's, that's decency. It's not loyalty, it's decency. The fact that Mrs. Reeves was in the Andy Burnham selfie, I thought that was inappropriate, but that's another story.
You didn't like that, did you? I know you sent me through a WhatsApp message on that, and I
don't like it.
I thought he's noticed me, but I didn't see any contradiction
I like decency
there at all, really.
I like decency.
If you like decency, how can you put up with this childishness in the house? Then,
well, you could say that about the whole. She was
like very undignified. This guy is, whatever you might think about his policies, he's a public servant. He's given a lot of time to he's lost his job, and on a human level, it's quite sad. And yet she went with it like a hammer and tongs. I just thought it was.
But it's like a job, Sean.
It's like a 5-year-old. No, in no situation. No, you need to show a bit of dignity in that particular situation. You need to be looking at back and saying, I'm sorry to hear that the gentleman is going and whatever. You can make a few, but in the past when that's happened, people haven't behaved like that. There's a decorum,
and that's normally. Hang on,
has it perfectly right.
That's true. I agree with that, but that comes in his last presentation, doesn't it? And if you think back to the most recent one was Sunak, wasn't it? But they still were at it before Sunak went, and that will come when he gives his final address at the dispatch box, because he's still the Prime Minister, isn't he? Until September. Well, maybe sooner. Yeah, maybe sooner.
3 weeks, they reckon, if it's a coronation.
Yes, because it's accelerated as a coronation, yes. But that will come. So I think there are a couple of things. I should say I didn't see these. Apparently she described one of the Secretary of State's using Gestapo tactics. I didn't like that. because Did you see it? Did you see that?
Bridget Phillipson, I just think it's her total approach, I think, is undignified. I just don't think there's a dignified bone in her body. I just think it's childish politics. And I appreciate that it's cutting through with certain people, but I think that's where we've got an immature electorate now. I think we've got people who there are no boundaries. And I think this is why we're getting the problems that we're getting in this country, because in her efforts to try and chase people like Farage to the right, she's behaving in the same manner that he does.
And I think that is what's going on. I think she's always had a reputation of being quite feisty, hasn't she? I mean, there was that comment, wasn't it, a year or two ago, when she said that 10% of civil servants should be fired. That I can see it's the old General Electric Jack Welch policy, isn't it? Your bottom 10% would be let go every year. May work in the private sector of a US company, but I'm not sure it works in the British civil service.
No.
So I think there's some missteps, but actually, overall, I think it was a strong performance. And my view is that she's learnt on the job. So that leads me to say, what? And I know you want to come in, but my question will be, the second half of this is, how would it play out with Burnham? But sorry, you want to come in?
No. I suppose we can agree on the fact that to a certain segment of the population, her performance has improved. To the element of the population that like this sort of rudeness, in my view, just rudeness, it's appealing. And there's quite a segment of the population. If you're looking at purely attracting votes and attracting and trying to ape what Farage does, then and it is proven, isn't it, by the polls, her popularity is more, she's doing better than she was before. It's not reflected in the party's standing. They've not gone anywhere. They're still in the doldrums, the same as they were before. In fact, I think that the latest polls actually show Andy Burnham having picked up, because it is Andy Burnham, isn't it, having picked up an extra 3 points. I think they're 3 or 4 points behind Farage now. There's not a huge gap, and I think she's 2 points, or Conservatives are 2 points behind Labour at the moment. Obviously, it's not.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that. Yeah. So so it's all neck and neck then.
Yeah,
really,
it's all relatively neck and neck.
Because maybe we just dwell on that for a second. Because my reading of this is, and this is me reasonably distant, saying I think we've had peak Farage, and I believe that this 5 million thing is damaging him. But people are looking on what's on offer. People who might have swayed to reform and can see Burnham will probably come back from Labour. I meant swayed to reform. Yeah. And Conservatives who've been waiting for a leader with a bit of gumption are probably thinking, oh, actually, there's something here. And in the middle of all that, Polanski seems to have taken a nosedive.
Yeah. His profile is a bit low, isn't it? Much the same as the Liberal Democrats. They're nowhere to be seen really at the moment. Although I think Farage would probably want to be nowhere to be seen at the moment, because at the moment he's being questioned on things that he doesn't want to be questioned on, isn't he? He's getting he used the word feisty. You're not feisty, but he's doing all this, you know what, which he does quite a lot when he's getting riled, which
he's got that. He's got none of your business. Well, it is, because you want to be our prime minister and we're worried about conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And you've got the parliamentary standards are looking into this issue.
Into the 5 million, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, to be fair to Farage, this gift was gifted before he had stood, hasn't he, as an MP.
But the rules of the House are,
right,
because I've looked into this, that any significant gift, and the threshold is really low, any significant gift over £300 that you've received in 12 months prior to becoming an MP, you have to declare if it could be deemed to influence be perceived to influence your decisions when you're in office. That's the argument he's going to make, that this is personal money and it's not influence. There's a very difficult argument to make when this Christopher, I can't remember his name, is a crypto billionaire, and that's one of the main things that they've made their policy reform to loosen up restrictions on dealing in cryptocurrency.
We'll see what how this committee look at it and what teeth it chooses to show. I think most ordinary people would think, this is a bit odd.
It doesn't smell quite right, does it?
But whether he should have declared it or not, of course, this is now out there.
Yeah, yeah.
And we shall see. He said it was only came up once when he was canvassing, but of course that was him. What about the other parties? So there's some really. I think we've gone past Pete Farage, Pete Polanski. It's amazing how things change so quickly. We're headed. So my prediction will be in 3 years' time that we're headed to a very broad coalition, which will be quite entertaining.
I think you're probably right. I think you're probably What's interesting is the word to me, but what I do find quite fascinating is the fact that other than different to when we were growing up, how all of politics now is based on celebrity. It seems to be, we've got Burnham who's coming, who's a huge figure. He's a huge figure, and he's, Andy, and all the banners were Andy for Makerfield. There's no mention of Labour on these banners at all. It's Andy this and Andy.
Yeah.
We're moving into a presidential system, but the presidential system in the States has moved on from dignified politicians to where are we now? We've got a guy who was on television doing I'm a Celebrity, what was it? The Apprentice, wasn't it, before? So I just wonder whether we're ever going to get back to serious politicians, because
no, we're not.
Well,
I think we do have some serious politicians, but they all think that they have to project themselves in sometimes an unserious way. Whatever you say about the American president, at least their constitution means that other than impeachment or death, you have a president in post for 4 years.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for that. And we've discussed this before about the need, because we're about to, we discussed it in the previous article, we're about to see a prime minister who everyone's in the dark as to what his policies are. So that doesn't feel right to me.
But look, including him, I think.
Including him. But anyway, we've gone off topic, but that won't be the first. So my summary would be, as we wrap here, is that I think, yes, there was some inappropriate phrases, but I think Kemi Badenoch's performances have increased. What I'd love to see, and maybe we can discuss this next week, is how she and Mr. Burnham will face off.
That'll be interesting, won't it?